Hello, drag racing fan, Monday Morning Racer, live from Las Vegas, Nevada. I was hoping that I would be able to set up the camera where you could see, well, it's not the strip that I'm looking at. I'm looking at the backside of Las Vegas. Great view, nonetheless, in the, I think I'm in the Westgate Resort, Westgate Casino, Las Vegas. Thanks to strutmasters.com. Folks, if you don't know what Strutmasters is, you got a luxury vehicle. It's got air or some other type of active suspension. It will fail. And when it fails, strutmasters.com is the place for you to go to get a conversion kit that will make it into a passive or conventional suspension. So if you know someone with a luxury used car or a car that has air suspension, even some new model trucks have air that will fail very quickly, go check out strutmasters.com. What are we going to do here tonight? Well, we're going to talk drag racing. Later on, we're going to have Chris Powers on as our guest tonight. He is the winner of the East Coast Nationals for PDRA and did it in a interesting and convincing fashion. And plus, we're going to talk to Chris more than just this past weekend with the season opener of the PDRA, but get to know Chris a little bit better, get to know and understand Extreme Pro Stock and Mountain Motor Pro Stock. Mountain Motor Pro Stock is a class that I feel has for too long been overlooked, and it is a class that is misunderstood. They are not the same as their 500 cubic inch cousins. There are nuances and particularities to them, and I think they are, in fact, superior to the 500 cubic inchers. I like my Mountain Motor Pro stocks, and I desperately want, one day, West Buck, I've told you, let's have a runoff at the World Door Slammer Nationals between the winner of 500 cubic inch and the winner of Mountain Motor Pro Stock. I want to see that for sure. Let me dive into the comment section. Sam, thank you for tuning in. Appreciate that. Mad Bro Motorsports saying, nice setup, brother. Man, we got to do what we got to do on these off-road on-location setups. Got the WR for Westgate. They're not sponsoring me, but I figured that looks better than nothing and give some Strutmasters some love. Folks, first four wide for me. First four wide for me is this weekend. What are your thoughts on four wide drag racing with the NHRA Camping World Professional Tour? Back in the day, they did have several different types of wide. They oftentimes did it because they had so many cars showing up. My dad, when back in the late 60s, early 70s, he talks about the myriad of cars lined up together to go through the elimination process. But for, the last 10, 15 years, we've had this four-wide setup, Las Vegas, Z-Max Dragway, and it's a topic of division amongst drag racing fans that are fans in particular of NHRA, nitromethane, and Pro Stock motorcycle drag racing. Where do you stand? Are you a fan of the four-wide? Are you not a fan of the four-wide? I have, for the longest time, been an individual that I'm going to stand in the middle on this until I see it and experience it myself. And I will say this about the four-wide. It seems like everyone that is a detractor that I have had comment on my YouTube videos, or I've seen them commenting in a live show just like this one, they have been individuals that have not been to a four-wide. J.R. Ward, put in the comment section, have you been? Let me know. Let everyone in the comment section, you're not a fan, but have you been? I have found that those that have been, they have become big fans of it. They might have been skeptics going in, but after experiencing four-wide, they're like, wow, that is a great way to see a drag race. I will say this. All right, thank you, Junior Ward. I appreciate that. You've been, and you're still not a fan. I appreciate the opinion, man. I appreciate you giving us the info. And let us know, what did you not like about it in particular? David chiming in, 4 wide, a lot of action going on at once. Can be unusual watching 4 super fast cars at once. David, I agree with you. It is a quirky thing on TV. And I am glad that I am not a professional cameraman of that level for Fox, ESPN, and seeing 4 wide in action and trying to film it. Who am I going to track? Who am I going to follow? You've got that much more going on. And I would like to talk to some of the cameramen and be like, when you do the 4 wide, how have you prepared yourself over the 2 wide scenario? Chris Powers, will have him later on. He says, I love the 4 wide. And Junior Ward, he times it, need a winner from each track, not one from all 4 lanes. Doug, I haven't been, but I'm not a big fan of it. Another, I haven't been, not a fan. Sam says he likes the 4 wide, thinks it's pretty cool. It's something different, which is good. I've never been, but I would like to. I have never been, but would like to check it out live before I judge. That's where I stand, Lou. I have not seen it live. I do think it is a big wonky on TV. Everyone that I've talked to in person, excluding Mr. Ward there, they've seen it and they're like, man, that's cool. But there is usually this disclaimer along with that excitement. I don't want that to be the norm. And that's me. I want an all-star race, but I don't want an all-star race every weekend. That would not make it an all-star race. I want 4 wides to mix things up for the sport of drag racing, but I don't want it every weekend. Don't want that. We need variety in drag racing, I think. I would not mind seeing NHRA level professional drivers under like an all-star setting. No ETs, no mile per hour. Head up, turn the wind light on. I think that'd be pretty cool. We're not worried about setting records. We're worried about who's winning for big money. Why not? That would be different. I appreciate when the sport does attempt to try something different. I would like to see the 4 wide really just once a year, personally, and it rotate with Las Vegas and ZMAX. I would love to see some quarter-mile events come back, though I know that would be a challenge. It would be super challenging from a tuning aspect, and it would incur more cost. It would be great, though, if every other year or once a year, maybe that's even the all-star format, that we see quarter-mile nitro methane drag racing at a venue that can handle it, like a Texas Motorplex, for example. So, variety. I think our sport needs it. There's been some chatter. I believe it was on Dragzine, and with the recent record runs for Richard Hartman, Tim Wilkerson, Kevin Kinsley, and Warwagon, those fuel altereds that were at the Texas Motorplex for Funny Car Chaos. By the way, there is a Monday Morning Racer video of those 2 cars and the record-setting runs on the YouTube channel. If you're not subscribed to Monday Morning Racer on YouTube, do so. Hit that button right now. Speaking of hitting buttons, hit the like button, hit the share button. Get people in on the conversation right here on Monday Morning Racer, talking about drag racing, the 4 wide right now, some variety in drag racing, and upcoming Chris Powers, the most recent winner in Extreme Pro Stock PDRA competition. There's been some talk about fuel altereds being thrown back into the mix at the professional level, at least as exhibition. I would love to see that. There was a day and time that fuel altered was a class, a points-paying regional class. And now it's become a obscure, wild man kind of crazy thing that you're out there running a fuel altered. I would love to see the style of what Richard Hartman and what Warwagon, and I believe it's even Bone Bucket, are, and have exhibitions runs at the professional levels. Why not Indy? I know some of my footage, thanks to the NHRA, was able to help them out and assist them. They use some of my footage in an interview that Brian Loans conducted with Richard Hartman on that record-setting weekend, and they mentioned, hey, why not do it at Indy, the U.S. Nationals? Yes. Give me Fuel Alters at the U.S. Nationals. Please. Please. You got everything else there. It's the U.S. Nationals. My dad talks about the U.S. Nationals back in the 60s. He was there in 65. That they had to shut down an entire mall parking lot to do tech. I want Fuel Altered. I want anything drag racing. Matter of fact, bring the motorhomes back that they had at Gainesville. Let's have a whole class, motorhome drag racing under the Camping World banner at the U.S. Nationals. Why not? Let's have some variety. By the way, speaking of that, variety, having a pop from fans, I'm going to tell you what, the crowd went wild over those two campers drag racing each other and both individuals winning. That was a cool deal for Marcus Lemonis and Camping World. J.R. Ward, agree, Fuel Altereds are awesome, man. They are. Love me some Fuel Altereds. MMR, hope you're doing good. Destroy 1320. Yes, sir, I am. Looking forward to the 4-wide action in Las Vegas. Susan Smith, can't wait to see the top alcohol dragster at the Southern Nationals. Go Will Smith and the Harada team. Yes, that's going to be cool. Southern Nationals, bittersweet. It's going to be the last one. The Southern Nationals hold a special, special place in my heart. It is my home national event. Atlanta Dragway holds the first drag racing memory for me. Period. And the memory isn't so much the cars. It is, I remember taking home a plastic dragster. You know the big plastic dragsters? They're definitely a kid's toy, but to a kid, you see what's on the track and you see that big toy and you think that's it. Well, I remember my dad purchasing one of those and we were leaving, and Atlanta Dragway has a very distinct cement up ramp into the entrance and exit where you get your tickets. I can remember going up there, going into the parking lot, and Jolly Rancher was still big in the sport. You remember how big Jolly Rancher used to be in the sport? They seemed like they used to be on everybody's car, like John Force, Lori Johns, and it seemed to be like an associate sponsor and other individuals. Well, hey, I, as a kid, brought home some Jolly Ranchers. Imagine that. Jolly Ranchers at the drag strip with them being such big supporters. And this is my memory. This is my earliest memory of drag racing, and it connected to the track. Atlanta Dragway, bringing that plastic dragster home and not playing with it, but rather playing with Jolly Ranchers. The green one was John Force in my mind, and the red one was Kenny Bernstein. Yeah, they weren't in the same class at that time, but I was racing Jolly Ranchers on the coffee table in the living room and commentating, making noises as a little kid. And to this day, when I think Jolly Rancher, I think drag racing. That's how much of an impact their marketing had. And that's how much an impact can be made in drag racing and in motorsports with marketing. Folks, my shades, whether you like them or not, do you know why I wear them? I wear them because of Scotty Cannon. Scotty Cannon was the man. And coming out of the upstate of South Carolina, as I was and he was, you pulled for Scotty Cannon. And that man comes in the Nitro Funny Car ranks after doing what he did in Pro Mod, and he was the coolest dude. And even though Oakley's isn't heavily involved in the sport no more, they still set the standard, the bar of like being cool out there with shades and drag racing. That's what kind of impact marketing can have. And yes, folks, when I see a green Jolly Rancher, I think John Force. When I see a red one, I think Kenny Bernstein. And when I see a watermelon, I think I'm eating that because I love the watermelon flavor. Love Jolly Ranchers. And when I think of going to hard candy, Jolly Rancher is my choice. Why? I had that experience at Atlanta Dragway. Susan, yes, looking forward to seeing the Harada gang there, Top Alcohol Dragster. Folks, the Haradas, go check them out online, social media. They are the coolest cats out there in the NHRA pits, I believe. Adam says, Adam Dobbs, good photographer, works for Competition Plus, says, same here, man. I'm looking forward to the Southern Nationals. Just hate it's the final one. Atlanta Dragway is my home track. I've attended for many years. Yes, sir, it's going to be bittersweet. Let's see what Keith's got to say on Atlanta. Shades, thumbs up. Atlanta, 7th Annual Southern Nationals Commerce was also my first nitro experience. Can remember driving in traffic, feeling the ground shake. Yes, sir. Loved when you get off the interstate. You can hear the cars come there at Atlanta Dragway. It's definitely a cool experience. Lou says, Pomona is all I have close to home. Lyons, Orange County, and Ontario are all gone. Yes, sir. And there's been rumors swirling around Pomona for a long time. That is a weird and strange situation with it being a municipal fairground facility. It's very similar to the Nashville Fairground Speedway situation. And I wish they had a regular program there every week and not just the National Series coming in. But I do expect, and you mentioning Pomona, the expectation of the sale of Atlanta is the proceeds from that will be put into the other NHRA owned and leased, in the case of Pomona, facilities to upgrade them and make them better facilities. That's what I take away from it. Losing Atlanta. If we gain better facilities elsewhere, and I hope a new market comes in, I can live with it. And I can say that's the sport moving forward. But if Atlanta is lost and we don't see improvements at Indianapolis, we don't see improvements in Gainesville, and some deal is not worked out to improve Pomona because it does need improvements, that will be an action of betrayal from the NHRA to fans of that market that were goers and attenders and lovers of Atlanta Dragway. Stay tuned to the YouTube channel. It is my plan to bring to you a hypothetical situation of how drag racing can stay in the Atlanta market. I do think it is a prime market. I do think the NHRA needs to be on the lookout of how to stay near it. It's one of the biggest cities in the country, ladies and gentlemen. NHRA's got to figure out how to stay around there. Definitely glad we've got ZMAX, though. Susan, Will Smith had a mohawk because of Scotty King. See? That's what I'm saying. James says, what's up, MMR? And personally, when I see a red Jolly Rancher, I think of Lori John's Top Fuel car from 1989-91. Sure, man. That's what that marketing with Jolly Rancher did. It had an impact of connecting hard candy, the motorsports, and kids such as yourself, me at the time. And when I think hard candy, I think Jolly Rancher, and that's what I'm going for. That is what I'm going for. Brent Browning, missed drags for the last 2 years due to COVID. Phoenix race needs to come back. I hope the Phoenix race does come back. Another great market. As it was put out there, there is that futuristic, 40-year plan. Doesn't look so good. Doesn't mean that something elsewhere might not pop up, might pop up. I do hope Phoenix comes back, but if it does come back, I hope they fix some of the rules and regulations they've got for fans. My fan experience there, and I try to go through what the fans go through, even though I've got credentials now elsewhere and can get in through other means. I want to know what you're going through because I think that's important. There's too much disconnect anyway from drivers, media, and officials not knowing what fans are going through. In my experience at Phoenix, I get to the gate, even though I had went online and checked for what you could bring in and what you could not bring in, and they tell me you can't bring your camera in, you can't bring your tripod in, and, oh, by the way, if you thought of bringing snacks, you can't bring snacks in, and we're only letting in 1 bottle of water. That is utterly ridiculous. they need to fix that. I hope they come back, and I hope they come back with better rules and regulations. Adam, very quickly, no, I do not know why Bristol is not on the schedule. I have heard money track-wise, not NHRA-wise. Hey, let me bring up this guy, Billy Lawrence. Got a different background, but looking good, my friend. Well, I am on the road. I'm in Las Vegas, Billy. Billy, congratulations to you. Folks, if you haven't seen it, go on the Monday Morning Racer Facebook page. There is a video of Billy Lawrence winning the bracket bash at the PDRA opener of the East Coast Nationals. He got it done in the Strutmasters pickup truck. Folks, it is time to take a break and bring on the champ of the East Coast Nationals himself, Chris Powers. So at this time, we're going to take a commercial break, and I will bring on Mr. Powers right after this word from Power Built Tools. Y'all, go buy some tools.
Power Built exemplifies innovation in the tool industry. From hand tools, power tools, and even tool storage. Check out powerbuilt.com for Power Built tools. And remember, use promo code MMR15 for 15% off at purchase.
Chris, how you doing, man?
Good. How you doing?
Oh, I am great. In Las Vegas, wondering what in the world I'm going to do tonight. Plan on going down to the Strip and taking some photos and catching all the glory and glitz and glamour down there. You've got a beautiful hot rod sitting back there in a dragster, too. What's the dragster about, man?
Actually, I raced top dragster before I got into pro stock. I ran top dragster, started in 2000 racing that, and that's a 2013 S&W car. Used to have a 1,000 cubic inch Sonny Leonard motor in it. So
wow.
We ran that up until 2017 and then on and off here and there. So the boy's going to drive it probably next year.
Oh, well, exciting news to hear that for sure.
Yeah.
Speaking of what you have done in drag racing, let's cover that, man. How did the bug bite you? Where does drag racing come into the picture for yourself?
Well, my dad used to race imports, VW bugs back through the 80s, and that's kind of where we got into drag racing. We raced all through the 80s as little kids, working on cars and wrenching on them, and then I started racing actually in 95 myself with a VW bug. So we ran those for a handful of years, carburetors into the turbo stuff, and then we bought an old dragster to go beat around and found it to be the easiest way to get to the winner circle. So I kind of went that direction, and it got tougher and tougher with it, and we decided to go faster and faster with the dragster. So that's kind of how I got started. It was a family thing, me and my two brothers and my dad, and we traveled all over the East Coast racing, down south, Georgia, Florida, up north, everywhere, running all the VW circuit stuff, and then just got into the V8 stuff. I got sick of working on the VW stuff, breaking trans axles and things like that. And it's kind of how I moved into that and got moving.
So you would be, I imagine you would definitely be familiar with a sponsor of Cameron Foray, Impey, and the guys there with the Volkswagen World.
Yep. They were a big part of the VW stuff. And I would say probably one of the biggest outlets to get VW stuff.
Fascinating. From the VW world into now Mountain Motor Pro Stock or Extreme Pro Stock. Hey, by the way, which do you prefer? Is it Extreme Pro Stock or is it Mountain Motor Pro Stock?
Well, I mean, the 8 Mile stuff is more the Extreme Pro Stock, and then the Mountain Motor Pro Stock thing just came back recently. After IHRA went out, NHRA brought that name back. So I guess Mountain Motor is supposed to represent quarter mile, and Extreme Pro Stock is 8 Mile. It appears to be. I think they need to just stick with one name, so they can brand it better instead of trying to do two names and confuse people.
There is confusion out there, and I can remember the first time that I went to an IHRA meet. It was Red River Dragway, which is known by some other name now, in Gillum, Louisiana. And my dad pointed over to a Mountain Motor Pro Stock and said, "Look, that's a mountain motor." I'm like, "It's a Pro Stock. What's the difference?" And, physically seeing and looking at the engine, I'm like, "Oh, wow. I understand why they do call them mountain motors." And they were faster, much faster than what I had experienced going to so many NHRA meets. What do you find people are most confused about, and what are the hurdles with fans? Like when you go to NHRA and they're asking, "Well, what's different about your car?" What's the expectations and what are the misconceptions you're having to correct when people encounter it for the first time?
Well, the first time we went to some of the NHRA stuff, I think it was, they seen the hood scoop, so they knew it was something different. At first, some people think they're, pro mod cars, and we're just naturally aspirated pro mod cars, and things like that. So there is confusion there. Some of the cars got Mountain Motor Pro Stock on them, others got Extreme Pro Stock, and I would say that would be the biggest thing with fans when they come up. They're a little unsure at first, and I think some of that has to do with pushing the brand more, and even NHRA helping to do that, to get the brand out there, that people understand that these are totally two different animals. Completely same cars, just different power underneath the hood, and and of course now we got the Liberty stuff in there, so they're kind of the same basic car, just a bigger motor and more power and a lot more to handle.
What do you find to be most challenging from quarter mile to eighth mile? How do you prepare yourself? Any different going to quarter mile or going to eighth mile? And which do you prefer, either one?
Well, I mean, you got to go 660 feet to get to the quarter mile. So I don't honestly prepare myself any different. We don't really change anything in the car. I mean, maybe a little bit of gear. That's pretty much it. I actually like the quarter mile better. We got good horsepower under the hood of the car, and we've done good in the quarter mile and also the eighth mile, but I kind of enjoy it. I like the speed. I like to see the 225 plus mile an hour, and I just don't have any fear in the car, so I kind of like the speed in the car, and I prefer it if we can do it even, a little more often than we do.
All right, man. So on Competition Plus Power Hour that I host on Tuesday nights along with my co-host Slam and Sam, we were yakking it up about drag racing and in particular Extreme Pro Stock and what to have our eyes on for this year. And I chose you to be the first to get to the threes. You think that's possible? You think that your team can do that?
I mean, with Chuck Samuels on board and Rob doing all the computer IT stuff, definitely. We know we got the power under the hood. I thought for sure there in 2019 when we set the record at a 4 flat, we just needed another run, and they ended it short. So we know we got it. We need a little bit of air and things like that, barometer to help us. But with the new car that we got, a better aero package, and we got a little better power under the hood than we've had in the last couple of years. We've really worked on things over the winter. I think it's definitely possible. I mean, there's a few cars I think that are definitely capable, but you got to run 4.0, 4.01, 4.02 nonstop to be able to do it. And we've proven that we got the steam under the hood. I mean, we've been out there and made 6-7 laps in a row and went 4.01, 4 flat, 4.01. So you got to do that if you're going to do it. You can't just swing once and hope it lands. You got to pick away at it and get there.
All right. So in PDRA competition, going to make a trip for the first time ever to Beach Bend, Bowling Green, Kentucky. Have you been there yourself? And if you have been, what do you know of the track? And if you haven't been, how do you go in to prepare racing at a brand new track?
I haven't been there. I've been, a lot of first, and I kind of get in there and I rely on the guys that are helping to tune the car and Chuck making sure that thing's straight as an arrow. So I honestly, I just look down the racetrack and the clear vision. Normally I'll go spot a couple things out, see where the finish line is and some things like that, and look at the shutoff area. And that's about it. Other than that, it's go time. That's about all I check out.
With the PDRA schedule this year, finally able to venture to a few places that it was expected that eventually they would be on the list. One was on the list last year, but was not able to attend. Out of Reading and Beach Bend, Norwalk, Ohio, with Summit Motorsports Park. Which one are you most excited to go to?
I would say Reading. It's a home track for us. It's less than an hour from my door. I grew up racing, going to that racetrack a lot and racing the dragsters. I really enjoy that track, and they've reconcreted it there a few years back. So it's a super fast racetrack. The biggest thing is you just got to be careful racing late at night with the doing things. So, but I love that track. In Norwalk, I've had success there and done really well. So, pretty much any of them tracks, but Reading, I'm definitely looking forward. It's kind of a home track to us, and family and, more friends can come and check it out and hang out with us.
Do you think they should sell tickets to the trees for the Amish? Let me ask that. No, definitely a cool event. I know the first time I ever went there, 2019, and helped out the New Englander funny car team with some of their social media, I thought to myself, where is this track? I mean, and there's not one way to get there. It's all roads lead to that track, and poof, there it is in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by trees in this hole. It's an impressive area for a drag strip to get stuck in, and definitely a track that's got a lot of mystique to it and record-setting place. So, yeah, could see you definitely looking forward to going there and it being so close to home. Speaking of close to home, Sonny Leonard. In the interview I had with you after the race, the very brief interview, you mentioned that he had done so much to keep the class, Extreme Pro Stock, Mountain Motor Pro Stock, together. What were some of those things that he actively did to do that and keep it to the point where even it is now that there is the possibility of a future and maybe even a golden period for the class?
Well, I mean, when it started out, back in the day, you had the, Monty switched over there and went to Sonny's, and, you had the Go Force and all them. And, I think the biggest thing that really helped, Sonny he put all of his heart and soul in it, and he loved mountain motor. So, I mean, every dime he was making, he was putting back into racing and helping out and putting money up to help sponsor the class and trying to, rally the troops with his, brand on their cars to participate and show up at everything possible to keep it moving. And I think that's a big plus. And, out of all the engine builders in mountain motor, I'd have to say, and, I've been with him since 2005, and I've never met anybody like him. I mean, he's put every effort to help Mountain Motor Pro Stock. And, he had a big passion, and I could see that when I switched over and ran, how much he's done for the pro stock and, all of racing. I mean, he's contributed, helping everything out from the truck pool deal to the pro stock to the sportsman classes. And that means a lot. If the engine builders won't invest back, it makes it really hard to move forward. So sometimes you got to lean on them guys to help push things, to motivate, for people to run their items and, to keep the sport going and growing.
All right, so where do you stand on the future of the class? Because there's a home with PDRA. ADRL is back in pulling at mountain motor guys. And you've got the NHRA, and y'all are basically an exhibition class to some extent with, I believe, 8 races before COVID happened and what the intentions were and are now. So where do you stand? Where do you think it should go? What are your hopes and dreams for the class?
Well, I mean, to be honest, I wasn't actually going to go to Kentucky at all. We were actually already had tickets and everything. We were going to Texas. We were going to go run the ADRL. We're looking at whatever can help our class and grow it more. The biggest defect to our class is you can't get everybody on the same page. I think Kenny has something good to offer also. we're pretty much going to run everything possible. We're going to run NHRA, as long as they don't conflict. We're going to run everything. We plan on running the PDR, all the PDRAs, the one they're conflicted. So I guess now we probably will go to Kentucky. We were going to go to Texas and run our car there for that one race. So I think 3 outlets is too much for the class. There's no way we can keep that alive. All it's going to do is hurt the class more. So we really need to sit down as a group, which is impossible. It won't happen, and kind of figure out what direction to take the class. But we don't have any young blood in the class. I mean, when I came in, I was the youngest guy to come in and to get involved. And now we got Johnny Pacino, which is great. Taking over the dad's car, and a couple other new guys. But the problem is we just don't have new blood, and obviously these cars cost a lot of money to run. So you got to have some financial backing, to run these cars. And with only 24 or 5 in the country, there's just no way possible to take 3. So I think they both need to sit down, the PDRA and ADRL. And I know that's tough to do. PDRA is a great place. I love Tommy and Judy to death. They've done something great. I just don't know if we're at a wall with that area, and we need to do something different. But, Kenny's been there a few times already, and we're kind of waiting to see what transpires with Texas and then go from there. But the NHRA thing, I like running there, but it really, investment-wise, is not a great move for a lot of people. You can't make, you don't make nothing in drag racing, but for what they're offering and what we got to pay to get in, it makes it really tough for a handful of cars to even participate with all these different sanctions.
And you get a baby Wally instead of the big one.
yeah, you do, for sure. And I got a big Wally already, and I got one from that Z-Max, a small one, but I'm a trophy collector anyway, so I was excited just to get it and and work hard to earn that the 4 rounds there that we did. But it'd be nice if they'd do that, but I don't know how much NHRA is going to do for our class. I don't think they're going to take us anywhere. Everybody's got hope, but I think NHRA, my personal opinion, is on the downturn. And being a top dragster racer, we ran 20 years over there in NHRA, and I mean, probably get yelled at, but they're not going to do nothing for us. They're not for the racer. They never were. So I don't foresee anything changing now. But I'll go where I got to go to help the class, to give them car count, to participate. And that's really all I can do at this point.
It definitely seems speaking of top dragster, if you're going to be in top dragster, like PDRA is the place to go do it right now. I mean, there are some wicked cool top dragsters over there to PDRA. I was sitting down on the starting line at Galot taking photos, and just dragster after dragster. I'm like, man, there are some cool rails showing up to these events. That has been a complaint towards the NHRA for a while. They have not been for the racer. I do hope that change. I have had an interview with Glenn Cromwell on Competition Plus Power Hour, and they're optimistic, but optimism and reality don't always come together. And I hope they do, but right now they seem pretty far apart, and I hope changes do happen. I hope that's the case. I hope it's the case for Mountain Motor Pro Stock, because it is a great class, and I believe most people just don't realize it's out there. They don't understand the nuances of it. Speaking of places to race, Wes Buck, World Door Slammer Nationals, he has expressed that he'd like to see Mountain Motor Pro Stock be a part of it. Need to find that right brand to sponsor that portion of the show. What's the talk amongst the mountain motor guys? Because it's like, the way that I see it is, y'all have as disjointed as everything is, as a class, as a group, y'all have the most defined group out of all the other classes. Like, I don't think of Top Fuel the way I do Mountain Motor Pro Stock and so on. So when all the guys get together and talk, is doing World Door Slammer Nationals on the radar, or a big event like that?
It is for us. I mean, we were down there the other year and we were testing the car in Orlando when they were doing all that stuff. And it should be on the top of their tongue. I mean, if they want to get out there and get in the sunlight, they're going to have to do it. But, when you talk to these guys, they tell you one thing and then behind your back, it's another. So I don't know. It's to get all them convinced to come is like pulling teeth to get these guys to group up as one. So it's been like that since I came in 2017. And from what I've seen and heard, it's been like this always. So I don't know what's going to happen. I'm all for it. I know there's a few racers that are for it. And some of the racers that are all for it are guys that don't have their own cars. They're just driving other people's cars. So it's going to be tough. I mean, to get 8 cars, I mean, it's going to be hard to get that. I mean, we need to have 16 or 20 show up, and we have the capability, but I don't know. These guys, it doesn't take the big dollar on top to get these guys to show up. It seems to be they all want, kind of like they say, they all want a trophy just to participate. That's kind of where I look at it is they want the big money in the bottom just to qualify. But that's not really what's going to get new blood into our class to help grow, to get more guys into it.
Interesting. Chris Powers with the insight definitely tonight. Thank you, man. Well, look, we're going to take a quick break, give you a break from talking and yakking. We'll come back. Folks, make sure, have some questions for Mr. Powers. When we come back, we're going to take round by round of the East Coast Nationals PDRA competition with his win. So this break, and then we'll look at the win.
Hero Soap Company is a veteran-owned establishment that produces all-natural, essential oils infused soap that is sold with a portion of the proceeds supporting other veteran groups. Hero Soap Company. Heroes supporting heroes. Be a hero yourself and buy a bar and let freedom clean.
All right, drag racing fan, make sure hit the like button, share, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow on Instagram and Twitter, Monday Morning Racer. Chris, I don't think anybody picked you to go in there and win the East Coast Nationals, the PDRA season opener. Everybody was saying Johnny Pacino and J.R. Carr. That was pretty much it. And yet you pulled it off. So talk to me about going in and, well, not being expected to win.
Well, I mean, I was kind of shocked when everybody, they picked the 2 names constantly. I mean, we are a force to be reckoned with, and we have won multiple races. We've always been fast and qualified up front, but we laid low all winter. I was frustrated after last season and not happy with my driving and performance. So I just stayed quiet and discuss what I needed to do to fix the problem. And when we showed up there, it was everything but problems. So we always go to a race knowing that we have an opportunity to win. And, that we prepped that way. But I was glad that everybody thought it would be them. So they had everybody eyes on them the whole race. And we just snuck right in and took care of business. So, I was happy with the performance, once we got things turned around and got moving in the right direction. And they can pick them guys to win every race if they want to. And we'll just lay low and stay under the radar and do what we do best.
Boom. There you go. You picked up the win, did it in style. And let's take a look at the round by round action. And folks, if you want to see the full elimination video, you can see it on the Monday Morning Racer YouTube channel for the Extreme Pro Stock, Pro 632, Pro Nitrous, and Pro Boost. Also Pro Nitrous Motorcycle. A lot of classes in PDRA. Let's look at round 1, Chris.
Great power. Johnny Lennon. 820 Mount Monroe on the left side. Wainwright running the 843 combination. Rose to the Ohio. The DR excavating. No, Ron Miller. Racing into the Chevrolet. Goes to the lead to try to take down the higher qualifier. All 260 feet here, but it's going to be Chris Powers. 4.1 seconds, 174 miles an hour.
Well, it looks like you left quicker and looks like you were quicker and faster overall. And the thing I've got to ask, can you tell when driving a car that the other car has got closer to you in your lane? Can you tell that? Is there an audible difference?
I did last year when he came over towards my car. I ran race there in the second round where I made a mistake I typically don't make against guys. But last year I definitely seen it. This year my focus is tunnel vision straight down that racetrack. So I wouldn't have knew probably until he would have tapped me and spun me out. But yeah, last year I seen everything. I was watching guys as I was shifting and things like that. I could see him out of the corner of my eye. This year it's tunnel vision. So I'll stick with the way I am now, like I did currently the first couple of years in Pro Stock with the door car. And but yeah, before you could see him and you just know they're coming over. You see that glare change in the car. But this year here, I'm totally focused on tunnel vision.
What happens, what happens. I want to turn wind lights on.
That's right.
There you go. There you go. Well, you got the round one victory. Round two, you go up against the defending champ, Johnny Placino, and we'll play now. And then I definitely would like to talk to you about, what was going on and what seemed to be like a delay for some. And, well, it's drag racing. Let's take a look at it.
All-speed qualifying session. Chris Powers. Here on the left-hand side. Going to try to take out defending world champ. Tell Chris Powers move on into the starting with the power on the left. John passing power on the right.
I'll let you know who
And Chris Powers taking his time to turn the top bulb on.
All right, so many would say took too long on the line. I mean, you talk to me. What was going on, and why did it seem like there was, took a little bit longer to get staged up? And I mean, hey, you have all the time you need up there, and I look at it as it's a drag racing thing. You turn bulbs on and you race when everybody's ready to go racing. But your perspective on that and what was going on for the team and you in the staging process.
Well, I mean, we rolled through to do the burnout and we're backing up. Of course, he was ahead of us, so he was already backing up before we did. And, we backed up there. Once we got back, he pulled me back a little bit. We wanted to point the car a tick. We were having some issues with the car with no computer in the car, so we were tuning it the 1980, 1990 way by looking at the plugs and things like that. So we didn't really have much data, but watching the car. So he wanted to point the car a tick just to try to lay it back straight when it left. And so that took a little bit of time. But after they released the car, I seen his light was on the whole time. And I'll be straight with you. Nobody's going to rush me. I'll get in when I'm good and ready. And, and typically I stage quick. I normally get in there top bulb and I jump in and get the second bulb on. And that's normally my style. But, I just felt that they wanted to rush to get me in there to try to get an advantage on me. And I wasn't having none of it. So I just decided that I'm going to take another breath and I'm going to bump in there. And once I was ready, I got in and got both bulbs on quick and gave it back to him. But there wasn't any games. It was more of just, he was in there and I knew he was trying to rush to get me in. So, to try to get me out of my game. And I just wasn't having none of it. I was fed up with, the performance from the past. And and I was going to do something about it right there. So, and we did. We wasn't just one end of the track; it was both ends of the track, and we were making sure that everybody knew that we still got a good, fast hot rod, and I can still cut a light and drive.
Yeah, 407 is definitely nothing to take lightly. 407 to his 411. And where did you qualify? Was it third, fourth? Where did you qualify for the event? I don't remember.
Yeah, we qualified third with a 409.3, and I think Johnny was a 409.1. And we had a lot of problems. Honestly, we did not plan on qualifying in third anywhere back there like that. We just fell behind with no computer, and the runs were going one by one, and that's why we kind of stayed there late Thursday night and ran, the last two qualifiers after everybody was leaving. We had no data to record, so Chuck had to go back to old school, and everything came back on when we ran Johnny on that run. For some odd reason, everything lit back up. The computers came back on and gave us our data, and we were loaded for bear in the final, so we weren't going to waste any time on that final round. And then, of course, Boone had some other circumstances with his car, but we were figuring on to go a 4 or 5. We definitely got the steam to do it. So we were still a little light on the clutch with Johnny, and, we weren't going to hold back. So we gave it everything we could by just tuning by what we knew. And then when the computers came back on, it gave us some, more information to get the car to run speed again and get us back on where we would have been in the beginning.
Before we take a look at the final round and ask a few questions about the final round, Keith, he asks Chris thoughts on factory support for either Pro Stock class. So what do you think it would take to have Ford and GM and Chrysler, any other nameplate, to be involved again heavily with a Pro Stock class?
I think that ship has sailed. I mean, we were building a brand new car. We were working on trying to build a Toyota, to be honest. We were going to put a Toyota body on our new Haas car, and we just couldn't get no support anywhere. NHRA denied us, wouldn't let us do it. And so we're trying to get other things involved in our sport. And, if we're going to be dictated by NHRA, we're not going to go anywhere. So I think the factory sport game is gone. I don't foresee that ever coming back. I think with the new generation of guys running companies is gone. It'd be nice to have it back, but I don't believe it'll ever come back.
Y'all were going to try to introduce a Toyota.
We've been working on a new car since March of last year, and Jerry was on the phone nonstop trying to get them to approve us a Toyota. I wanted something different. I'm sick of the same cars. I wouldn't build a Mustang. I've looked into the Mustang deal, but Chuck said that ain't the way we're going to go. And he's the guy who turns the wrenches. So I do what he tells me, but the Camaro kind of forced with, we couldn't do a Pontiac. We looked at doing a conversion with like a Trans Am to give a new light to the class. And then we went down the road with a Toyota, and we couldn't get them to approve the body. And they have a body for Toyota, for Pro Stock. And, we couldn't get it done. They wouldn't approve it. So
really, what make and model is it?
I believe it was the Camry they had over there. So they just sealed the door on it, so make it look like kind of like they did with the Dodge. And the body was really cool. I mean, it was sharp. It was nice. And, I wanted something different, give the fans something new to draw attention to the class. But it's kind of like it's getting to the point where it's the same boring 500-inch stuff. I'm sorry to say, but with the Camaro class, you got to have other cars. You only got one Dodge in the class, and that Dodge ain't coming back out. So, it's just Fords and Mustangs. So that's the problem with the class. You need other cars.
Well, it's not just the problem with Extreme Pro Stock. It's also a problem to some extent with Pro Mod across the board. Yeah. I have people chime in constantly on my YouTube channel, and they'll say, "Oh, it's just a bunch of Camaros," and I'm like, "Yeah, it is. Whether it's the 1969 or the modern one, it's Camaros across the board." And I can appreciate someone throwing a Firebird front end on it, but to some extent, you still got a Camaro to a degree. that's why, last week I had Honeycutt on. I'm like, man, thank you for running a Mustang in Pro Nitrous. It is something different. Thank you.
Yep.
So, wow. Well, look, I did not know that y'all were working on a Toyota project. I appreciate those efforts, and that frustrates me that much more now that there is a stickered Camaro in Pro Mod now in NHRA that is a Toyota. It is a Camaro with Toyota stickers. That's what it is.
Yep.
And they're letting it run. That is completely frustrating. Wow.
Yep. So we wanted to do something good and change the dynamic of it, but if the NHRA seems to hold the key to what we're going to do right now, and I don't know why, because we're nothing more than an expedition class over there. We're not even a class, so I don't see why they have any say in anything we do.
Sure. And I agree with you there. Sadly, the sport as a whole will rise and fall with what the NHRA is or is not doing. That's just where we're at. They are, they are the major leagues. And though I don't want to discredit anything the PDRA does or the ADRL does, but the NHRA has that 70 years behind them, and they're the one with the TV package, so on and so on and so on. And yeah, it's sad to hear right here on Between the Slicks that they wouldn't let you do that, because I think I've asked for a long time, where is Toyota in Pro Stock? Or why is Toyota not in factory stock with the Supra or something? I think that would be cool. Where you at? Where are you at?
Nope. It's a top fuel in a funny car that's just looks nothing like anything, and it's Toyota. So I'm shocked that they never got more involved in the Pro Stock that would show their brand at what the car actually looks like.
Yes, sir. I agree. All right, man. Before we look at the final round footage of the pass that you made, what happened to Mr. Boone? Do you know exactly what held him up from getting to the final round?
Yeah, we were all done and ready to go for the final, and his wife come over and told me that they were having some problems with the motor and they don't think they're going to get it fixed. So I come over and talked to Steven and told him I'd give him all the time in the world until we have to run that car. And I'd do everything other than give him a motor to beat me with my own engine. So, any other time, I'd do whatever it takes. And Steve's a great guy. And actually, out of all the guys that we race with, he's probably one of the guys I look up to and enjoy the competition and the friendliness of the Southern feel, and just a true competitor. Out of all the ones I race against, he's definitely one of the best. So I would have did anything to help him out, but they weren't going to get it fixed. They dropped the lifter there and opened it up, and it tore up a lot of stuff in that motor, and there's just no way he was going to make it up there. But I wanted to give him all the effort in the world to try to get it together and bring it up and put on a show. And I'm just that type of competitor. I would have waited for him to get the thing running to give him an opportunity to at least, for all their hard work coming there, to have an opportunity to race us in the final round.
Yeah, it was definitely good to see Boone make it to the final round, and, upsets across the board. I mean, Mr. Montecalvo, first round with what he was able to do, whole shot win, definitely a great event for Extreme Pro Stock, I think, with twists and turns. Unlike Pro Nitrous was like, oh, it's Tommy and Jim. Imagine that.
Same people all the time. Pro Stock, you don't know what's going to happen. And all the cars are equal. I mean, even, Rice has, turned some things around, and, they put up some good numbers. And, I mean, you can't give up anything. You're late on the tree, 40, 50 light, and you open the door. I mean, you're 90, 100 on the light, you definitely open the door, and somebody's going to capitalize. They're going to take it from you. So it doesn't matter how fast the car is. You got to have the whole package. And that's where we try to be. You can't, last year I struggled a little bit with that. Normally I'd chop that tree down, but I kept tilting it red, and I was making myself madder by doing it. But when I'm ready to go, I'm ready to go. So, yeah, I mean, that's the thing with our class. It's equal, and the cars that are there, I believe that the cars that are running PDRA right now are, I would say, some of the best cars in the country. There's only a couple that aren't participating. I think John DeFlorian's one of the fastest, faster cars out there, and he's not there. So, there's only a few that are missing that are quick cars, but they have the best cars racing right now that are running, every event. So you can't open the door at all for anybody. And same with Monty. He car popped that door and Monty took advantage of it. And
Right.
I didn't expect that either. I thought for sure it was, car would go a few rounds, and they've been bad fast, and but you got to have that whole package. And I know they'll turn it around, and it's tough. There's a lot of stuff going on in them cars, and that's the issue, that there's just so much going on, and you're either on or you're not, and just takes everything. So it was definitely I guess they felt it was an upset, but I think Monte Calvo's got a good fast hot rod, and you'd expect it. John's won a championship, a couple of them, 2 or 3.
Right.
So you expect him to be there, and as a heavy hitter, as well. And I think people turned it up that, all of us were underdogs when we showed up, and I kind of put that in my head and took that to personal. And I said, oh, okay, well, I guess we need to take care of business then.
Well, and y'all took care of business. Let's look at the business round, the final round, and the pass you made right now.
That kid, it's Sonny's Racing. In 1968, Sonny Leonard started his engine business in a 1,000 square foot 2-car garage shop. In 1977, to a 5,000 square foot shop. Fast forward to 1999, and Sonny Leonard continued to grow his business into an 11,000 square foot facility. And then, Sonny went to the next level. He upgraded all the way to a 15,000 square foot world-class engine facility in 2007. And to this day, he holds over 70 national records, 13 IHRA Pro Stock World Championships, all with his engines. Sonny Leonard left us far too soon. A guy that is truly a pioneer of Mountain Motor Pro Stock racing, and Chris Powers and the crew is more than honored to have Sonny Leonard a part of their racing operation for many seasons to come. So we'll give a moment of silence to honor one of the greatest engine builders in Mountain Motor Pro Stock history, and not only in IHRA but in HRA as well, and all the accomplishments that Sonny Leonard has done over the years. So Sonny, that was for you.
Would have loved to have seen a race, but the way it worked out, poetic. And I imagine that is the greatest, slowest pass you'll ever make in your career, Chris. Talk to me about the opportunity to do what you did, and how did it feel in the car, man?
I mean, it was definitely a peaceful moment for sure. I mean, just to know that we had the opportunity to get it done for everything Sonny's done. And I mean, the engine in the car's that's the last engine he put together for me. And it meant a lot, just to go up there. I mean, I would have loved to run Boone, but we couldn't ask for a better ending to the race, to display what Sonny has accomplished, and to have his daughter right there with us, and, Junior Ward and all them, and some of the Sonny folks, and, Francis watching. It meant a lot to us to be able to do that for him. And I'm glad we got the opportunity to do it. It's definitely a humbling moment. It reminds you of a lot in life, and the comers and goers and things. And Sonny will always be remembered, and he'll always be a part of our racing team until we're done. So we're glad they're going to keep things moving, and the daughter took over, and Francis is going to keep the shop open. And we're going to do everything we can to make sure people know that, he may be gone, but he'll never be forgotten. And we're going to remind him every time we show up with this car that he's done something great in history, and we're going to represent him well. So I'm just, again, just fortunate that it fell on our hands. And we'll move on to the next event, and it'll definitely keep us humble for sure.
Well, Chris, as people look back into the history books, they're going to see that you were the East Coast Nationals PDRA 2020 winner in Extreme Pro Stock, and you did it styling and profiling and in great fashion for your competitors, for your fans, whatever you want to say. Last word from you, man.
Well, I mean, definitely fans got to come out. You got to support us. We love having you out there. Bring the little ones out. That's the biggest part of racing. The fans got to come out and spend time and enjoy it with us. And me, I'm just happy that I have an opportunity to go racing and be able to still do it after all these years. And my body's up to the task to still do this stuff. And I got a great group around me, big support team, and I got to thank Sonny's for everything they do for us, and Liberty Transmissions, and especially ATI. They've done a lot over the last handful of years helping us out with the pro stock and giving us an opportunity. So just hopefully the fans will get out here and join us. When we get to Kentucky and some of the other races, and our pit's always open to you. There's no rope and no closure for us. You're more than welcome to come over and hang out and sit in the car and check things out. At the end of the day, it's just a car, and if people can't enjoy it with us, what's the point of going?
Glad you said that. The first time that I stumbled upon your racing operation was Epping, New Hampshire, for an NHRA event. And I was like, this has to be a cool guy and a cool pit, because you had on a banner, our pit is open. And a lot of people don't know whether they can go in and interact, but y'all have made that statement, you and your wife, your team, and that is a cool deal. Well, man, look, congratulations. Keep up the good work. Definitely looking for a competitive year in Extreme Pro Stock and Mountain Motor Pro Stock, wherever y'all go and wherever the band gets together. Thank you for being on Between the Slicks.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Have a good night.
Folks, Chris Powers on Between the Slicks Live. Chris, thank you for your time. Folks, I'm the Monday Morning Racer. We're going to shut the show down. What a good show it has been. Some revelations made on Between the Slicks. I like that. Where am I? I'm in Las Vegas, Nevada. I will be at the Denso Spark Plugs 4Wide Nationals here at the Strip at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, experiencing 4-wide drag racing for the first time ever. And I will be sure to bring you a report. Folks, stay tuned to the Monday Morning Racer. Trying to work it out with some other media entities in the drag racing world. It may even happen this weekend. But going to attempt to have what I think will be the first ever NHRA post-race show. Now, it won't be an NHRA approved, sanctioned type of deal, but it is the plan that when the finals are done, to have the winners of the NHRA professional categories on a post-race show talking about their day and you being able to interact with them. First go may very well be this event here in Las Vegas. If not this event, I'm working hard to have it ready to go at Atlanta Dragway for the Southern Nationals, the last Southern Nationals. Why? I think drag racing needs more Between the Slicks. I think it needs more West Buck Show. I think it needs more Competition Plus Power Hour. I think it needs more Dragzine podcasts. We have got to talk this sport up. Look, no sport is perfect. No stick and ball sport is perfect. NASCAR is not perfect. But you look at what NASCAR has done as a motorsport, and you look at what F1 has done as a motorsport, and there's a positivity running around those sports at all times. We've got to have some positivity, and we've got to have media. We've got to have the talk. We got to have the imagery. getting out there to the world about what is happening. So make sure that you are subscribed to the Monday Morning Racer on YouTube, follow on Twitter and Instagram, like the page on Facebook. To each and every one of you that watched tonight, thank you. I greatly appreciate it. Last thing I want to say is you can get Monday Morning Racer apparel now. Yes, go to shopspeedshark.com and you can get Monday Morning Racer swag. Folks, until next time, God bless and keep the pedal to the metal. MMR out.